Hi everybody, my name is Michael Cossett. I live in San Diego, California, specifically more Point Loma in San Diego here. And as you can see over my shoulder here, I'm on my patio. I live at St. Agnes Roman Catholic Church. I've got a beautiful little patio where I spend most of my time studying and reading and just quiet time out here and enjoy the peacefulness of San Diego. Although I'm not Catholic, and they're always Father Don's always trying to convince me to convert, that they said they need guys like me in Catholicism, but I'm resisting. Either way, I work for Delta Airlines, and I ride my bike to work every morning at 3:45 for the early morning shift. And my bachelor's degree is in broadcast journalism, and I spent about 20 years in radio, internet, and I also worked in motorsports and Major League Baseball. I have a daughter who is a joy of my life. She's a junior at Arizona State University and still trying to figure out what she wants to do, but either way, I'm still very proud of her. My main hobby is travel, obviously, because I work for Delta Airlines. And I'm pretty much gone every weekend flying around the globe, attending different church services, which is also another one of my hobbies. Although last year, the pandemic, I figured out that I spent about 48 of my 52 weekends traveling someplace, wherever it may be, visiting friends or different places I've never been before. I don't have a church home, as I attend a different church service every weekend. That started off as more of attending a church, some personal things I had to change, so I moved on to find a different church, and after that I just continued to find different churches to go to, and it's become more of something I do every weekend instead of trying to find a church home. And I really enjoy it, seeing different worship services, different pastors, different messages. Just different ways of worshiping has been really interesting for me, and I'll probably continue to do that in the future. I'm only taking one class a quarter here at Fuller. I'm working on my master's in theology, as I'm paying for everything myself and no student loans. I'm a little too old to be paying for student loans at this time in my life, so just plug along one quarter at a time here, one class, and eventually finish out. But I believe that's what the Lord has for me, is I'm wanting to finish sooner, but he's got me on this slow path. I'm not really too sure what I'm going to do with my degree. I just know right now that it's probably have to do something combined with my travel and my broadcast background. I think both of those are going to come into play, whatever it is that the Lord's going to have me do. After watching many of your videos, honestly, I feel like a total outlier from Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers. I have zero musical talent. I've never played an instrument. None of my family's played an instrument. My sister, aunts, uncles, parents, no one's ever played an instrument. So I can't sing or play anything worth a darn. My only musical background I can really say was I was a member of my high school choir, only because it was the in thing to do. You know, they took great trips, they had great parties, they got together and did a lot of things, great things around the church. So of course I was involved in the choir just to be part of that in group. But I think the leader of the choir took pity on me and just stuck me in the back row, because he knew I couldn't sing, but he never really came out and told me that. So years later I understand what kind of pity he took on me for that with my voice. I think my musical tastes, I think if you got into a car with Sirius XM and I type in 80s on 8, First Wave, Hair Nation, and The Message, I think the 80s is probably the greatest decade of music ever evolved. I mean, you can still hear them in commercials. When you go to stores, you hear the music. There's radio stations with it. Obviously, that's my personal preference, but it's a great decade of music. And I have to say that when I heard our professor was in a Christian death metal band, that really took me back to some great memories of the early 80s of mosh pits. So I tell you, that video was some good stuff for me. I have very little musical knowledge from the mid 90s to the early 2000s. I just really had no interest in music being developed or played. And it's just been in the last 5 to 7 years I think I'm really interested in contemporary Christian music. And I've actually gotten to know quite a few of the artists and the musicians and the bands, and the different personalities and the tragedies and the life stories are just absolutely incredible, how they stick with their faith through everything in their lives, and they get to know how they come up with music, and get to know them personally, and that they're just like the rest of us. It's just that they have the gift of being able to share their share the gospel through their music. So it's been absolutely incredible to be able to get to know so many of these musicians. And obviously, I travel to see quite a few of them around the world, pre-pandemic, of course. What I want to take away from this class, I think, is just different views of music. I'm a middle-aged white man who grew up in a white suburban neighborhood. I think I'm learning different things from every class. The practice of worship class, it really opened my eyes to a lot of things and how people worship differently around the world. I just want to take something different of music and worship and how the world worships Jesus. Because obviously the only thing I know is what I grew up with. And every class I take, I'm learning more and developing more knowledge about how different people worship and how different places, different countries worship and stuff like that. So that's about it about me. Beautiful San Diego. I know a lot of you are sitting there probably in colder weather saying, look at this guy, what's he doing? But looking forward to getting to know everybody in this class and learning more about theology of pop music and hearing from all your thoughts. Blessings, everybody.